All right, this is episode 2 of 2 Bite podcast, here with Logan Bramley, Joe Furbush, and Jack Queenan.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. We brought Jack on today because he's got a little expertise in the finance game. He's just going to share some thoughts with us, kind of what he does on the daily.
So thanks for having me, boys. To start off, what I've been kind of doing for quite a bit ever since I was about 14 or 15 was my big financial thing was the stock market. So the stock market, there's a lot of things encompassing it, but at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. You just have to account for a few aspects in the market, geopolitics, and the broader economic climate, especially in the United States, and especially now it's particularly pertinent with some of the things that are going on. There's several things that could hinder or be more attractive for a sector or stock. And one of the things to take into account, especially going into the new year, is tariff and trade wars. For example, rising tensions, especially with China, have really altered some of the sentiment and have affected some companies' top and bottom lines. China, new data shows, has shifted its focus into other markets, and its trade surplus just reached $1 trillion for the first time ever. And so this is an example of some factors to take into account when investing in things such as EV car companies, XPeng. I know you're familiar with that company.
Yeah, we talked about that
yesterday. And also shipping and green technology companies. So that would be an example of a factor to take into account. And do you have any questions?
Yeah, so you mentioned these companies. You mentioned the tension with China.
Precisely.
Where do you gather information that can give you kind of a baseline understanding of what the future is looking like for your portfolio and how you're going to handle these tensions?
Good question. One of the big things I take into account is the news. So you can get a lot from the news. You see a lot what's going on. That's kind of a baseline thing that is easy to do. Everyone should do it. But another thing I like to look at some of the websites. FinViz is a good market tracker. You can see what things are moving, some of the inside sales, and how some of the hedge funds and the managers manage their portfolios. For instance, recently I was looking into Bill Ackman. He has made some particular moves in the last year and going into this year, and he seems pretty confident in a few 5 companies. In fact, 75% of his $11 billion portfolio is in 5 companies. That also kind of goes back into pick the companies wise and pick a few.
What are those companies?
The companies, one of them is Uber. So he's pretty confident in Uber. He's confident how the self-driving and Waymo, they're going to take over Uber's platform. And so that will lead directly back to Uber. One of the other companies, I believe, is Alphabet. He's owned Alphabet for a while. He likes Alphabet, but he kind of goes back into the basic stocks, the Howard Hughes Corporation, the Howard Hughes Holding Company. He also likes a company, QSR. That is the company that owns some of the largest fast food restaurants in the region. So he's kind of going back to the consumer and the retail going into next year. He seems pretty confident. But that's Bill Ackman's take.
So yeah, Bill Ackman obviously has interesting advice. Is there any other people you follow in the market? Like we see Nancy Pelosi obviously growing her account to absurd percentages.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that you take after?
Capital Trades is a good website to track politicians' moves in the market. I take into account Jim Cramer. I like him. He's on the news often.
Yeah.
Mad Money, that's right. But Warren Buffett, I think, he's a pretty good leader to follow, and he has some great advice for early and career investors. Some of the things he goes into, which I kind of take into account, is that when you look at a stock and you look at a company, you ask 2 questions. What is the company trying to achieve, and how do they go about achieving it? So you really look into the whole picture. And one thing that I think people kind of misconstrued is that revenue does not paint the whole picture. For instance, a CEO, they are focused on short-term profits, but the key is they have to balance those short-term profits with long-term investments. So the CEO has to make a decision of whether maybe to reduce his short-term profits in the near term, but make up significantly in the long term. And I think that's what not a lot of people do as well as Warren Buffett, is they can really see the fundamentals of the company, how the CEO thinks, and how it can translate into future gains, which I think that's a very commendable trait.
Yeah. If you were an average person, like what would you recommend an average person to do with their portfolio if they don't really plan on looking at the stock market every single day?
That's a great question. So I think for early investors, I think it is a young investor. I think for a young investor, it's a pretty good idea to first of all, diversification. So diversification is a vital part of creating any formidable portfolio. It goes back into the age-old idiom, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So don't put all your money into one stock. So I think in the past year, for instance, I'll give you an example of why diversification is important. The real estate market lagged significantly, and they saw some cooling in the growth of house prices. So for instance, last year, you wouldn't want all your money in real estate stocks. Yeah. So I think that's kind of a good example. I mean, you want to separate into industries and sectors and companies, and you kind of want to have you don't want anything to be over about 15 to 20% of your entire portfolio. You want some fundamental ground stocks such as healthcare and such as financials, and then you can go into the more riskier stocks that might make or break your portfolio, such as biotech, semiconductors, and some of the riskier tech stocks. But again, back to Bill Ackman, balance is very important. It's key. And so the market does take time. Positions don't double overnight. So you want to offset short-term losses with growth ETFs and other fundamental investments. So that's a pretty important thing. But back to your original question, I think it's important to break up your portfolio into sections. 10% healthcare, 10% growth, 10% ETF. And I think that can really help get you exposure into a multitude of companies, a multitude of sectors, and a multitude of derivatives, which will give you an advantage in the long term.
All right. This would not be a 2-bite episode if we did not bring in some food.
Bring in some food, that's correct.
So we've got here a little board of cheese, crackers, some nuts, and some jalapeno jelly.
Yes.
As well as some honey.
So we can give this a try.
Yeah, I'm interested to try this.
The jalapeno jelly.
Leave a spoon there.
How do you even open this?
I'll make myself a little cheese and cracker sandwich here. How's the, what are those, pecans?
There's cashews.
Cashews.
They're pretty good. I believe they're cashews.
I don't even know what this is.
No, those are pecans, you're right.
Well, Jack, you are a very smart guy, and it's clear.
Oh, well, I appreciate the plaudits. Thank you.
Where do you see yourself in the future?
Myself, that's a very good question. Excuse me. Well, I do want to study law. I would like to get my law degree. I think from a business standpoint, a particular interest of mine is I want to start a diversified holding company, which goes back to the finance. I'm thinking internationally, someplace with direct trade routes to Australia, Asia, North America. And that place would most likely be South Africa. Mm-hmm. I think they have growing markets in Johannesburg, in Cape Town. I think there's a lot of room for growth in the country and as the continent as a whole. So that would be something that I would most certainly be interested in. I'm not sure how viable that is or how likely it is to happen, but that would be goal. That would be a future goal of mine.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And bringing you on here was obviously a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for having me.
I'd just like to know one more thing. What gives you credibility to speak? What do you think gives you the upper end over the average investor?
Well, I wouldn't say I have the upper hand. I know I have certainly done my due diligence. I do a lot of research, and I've been doing this for about 5 to 7 years. So I've been doing it for quite a while, and I think that experience is really important, especially the market isn't something you learn overnight. It takes time. It takes years, decades in some instances, and I think that that experience puts me a little bit over the edge. But anyone can do it. Anyone can surpass me and make their own wealth. So that would be my answer.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure having you on, Jack.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Again. And stay tuned for the next episode. We'll be back soon.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Being a part of this.
Amen.